Hello again, chaps and chapettes. How are we all doing? It is lovely to see you all again, as always. Let me start by saying this, guys. My initial plan tonight was to do something a little bit more light-hearted. I was thinking about going live for an hour or two, having a chat with you guys, having the crack, having a couple of laughs, and possibly putting some smiles on some people's faces. But alas, with each passing hour, with each passing day, with each passing week, with each passing month, with each passing year that manages to pass us by as we're forced to live on this fucking island, that plan has obviously gone for a burden. Particularly when I'm seeing stories such as I've seen on GB News tonight. Now, what we're going to talk about, guys, has been covered extensively on my channel over the last, 6 to 8 months. We are going to transport ourselves back to mid-last year, and we're going to be revisiting what happened in Southport, which I'm sure you can all remember rather well. A couple of girls got mindlessly murdered by some fucking brain-dead psychotic monster who has managed to get himself back in the press even though he's serving a hefty life sentence in Belmarsh prison. I am, of course, talking about Axel Rudiker-Barner. You know, that happy butter wouldn't melt Welsh choir boy, schoolboy, that persona that the press was trying to fucking force upon us even though he killed a lot of little girls. Animals, the fucking lot of them. They're all worse than each other. Every single one of them. Animals, heartless, puerile pieces of cancerous filth. So, let's see what this prick's been up to, shall we? Under the headline on GB News' website, Southport killer Axel Rudiker-Barner attacks prison officer as police rush to HMP Belmarsh. Triple child murderer Axel Rudiker-Barner allegedly left a prison officer in hospital after pouring boiling water over him. Why is a man who has been convicted of killing children allowed access to boiling water? A kettle, a stove, a pan, whatever the fuck it was. Anything that can cause damage to anybody else. Why are they allowed access to things like this? They should be in a prison cell for 23 hours a day, with 1 hour outside, if they're lucky, and that's it. Prison should mean prison. You are incarcerated. There's no hot waters, there's no cups of tea, there's no cups of coffee, even though, yeah, I know there is, but we'll get to that momentarily. No luxuries that life will provide for you. Because, let me tell you guys, right, I have been an advocate of reinstating the death penalty in this country for a long time now, because some people are beyond help. They are beyond reproach. People like this fucking animal. Not only does he kill some little girls, he's still doing violent shit when he's serving a life sentence. Some people are beyond help. No amount of counselling, no amount of talking, no amount of psychotherapy, no amount of putting their head on your lap and stroking the hair and spoon feeding the marshmallows and Maltesers. None of this shit will do anything to rehabilitate certain people. Axel Rudiker-Barner, Myra Hindley, Ian Brady, Ian Huntley, Harold Shipman. I mean, the list is fucking endless. Some people are beyond reproach. Ergo, you need to snuff out their existence. They don't need the privilege of being able to breathe air. Because let me tell you something, guys. When this animal is eventually released, because believe you me, he will not serve a nearly 60-year sentence. I'll say, possibly 30 years. He'll be eligible for parole at some point. Someone will come along and say it was racist to lock him up. Some mindless, chinless fucking arsehole will come along and try and get this animal released simply because he was a minority. Ian Huntley won't get the same. He will rot, quite rightfully so, in prison probably for the rest of his life. But this piece of shit, someone will attempt to free him. Ergo, send him to the gallows. Put him in the gas chamber. Do whatever you need to do. People like this cannot be allowed back into society. It's as simple as that. The 18-year-old is accused of launching the scalding liquid at the officer through a hatch in his cell door. Yet again, why has he got hot water in his cell? Why does he have access to hot water in his cell. The mind simply boggles, guys. GB News can confirm that the convicted murderer is now being probed over the alleged assault. London Metropolitan Police is now investigating the incident. Scotland Yard said the Met is investigating after a prison officer was subjected to a serious assault at HMP Belmarsh on the afternoon of Thursday, May the 8th. A prison service spokesman said police are investigating an attack on a prison officer at HMP Belmarsh yesterday. Yeah, I think I've got enough of that, guys. I could be here all night otherwise. So yeah, access to hot water, access to a kettle, tea and coffee facilities maybe, in his cell, a PlayStation, a stack full of porn mags. I'm not too sure, I've never been inside myself, but a lot of the time I have spoken to a couple of ex-cons in my time, during my youth when I used to go out to the pubs. You know, I used to actually have a social life, believe it or not. I've spoken to many ex-cons, and a lot of ex-cons actually enjoy being inside. They enjoy being in prison. They enjoy being around their friends. They enjoy what prison life brings them. A lot of freebies and a pretty cushy life most of the time. Like I said, they've got PlayStations, Xboxes, hand creams, shaving gels, shower gels, soaps, all that sort of stuff. All the sort of things that me and you have in everyday life. When you go to prison, at least in my eyes anyway, you should be incarcerated behind bars for almost all of the time. Well, depending on the crime. If you've done something like, I don't know, forgery or something, or, you know, something menial, yeah, you do get some leeway. But most of the time, these fucking murderers and the rapists and the paedophiles, all that fucking shit, should be in a darkened cell with cockroaches, a very, very hard mattress, and bare minimal food and water. You shouldn't have access to hot water. You shouldn't have access to tea and coffees. You shouldn't have access to the privileges that a free life gives to you. I don't understand why this man is being incarcerated in this country. He was born here, he was born here. No, fuck that shit. I don't want to hear about it. This man should be expelled from the country. It's as simple as that. He should be expelled to his ancestral homeland, which is Rwanda. He shouldn't have the privilege of staying in a UK-based prison. He shouldn't have the privilege of staying in this country. After what he did, expelled from the country, never ever to return, and send his fucking parents with him. Because, let's face it, guys, a 52-year stay in prison is going to cost the taxpayer an awful lot of money. I did some prior research for once in my life. In one of my videos, I've done some prior research before recording a video. I looked up how much the average stay of the average prisoner in the UK costs the UK taxpayer per year. And it is 56,000, so I'll call it 60,000, right? This guy is doing a 58-year sentence, so I'll call it 60-year sentence, right? That's going to cost the taxpayer close to £4 million over that space of time, which is coming out of my back pocket, your back pocket, and the rest of the public's back pocket to keep this man incarcerated. Sack him off, boo him out of the country, get rid of him. Why are we so soft on these type of people? Bung them in prison at the cost of the taxpayer. Let him have the life of Riley. Have you ever noticed, and also, right guys, how this man is still walking, still breathing, had been attacked? Someone pointed this out to me on X earlier today, and I've got to admit he had a very valid point. The reason being that people like that are still allowed to walk around prisons in the UK is because most of them are run by Islamists. Muslims that are locked up in prisons control the prison wings. Tommy Robinson's spoken about it in some of his prison stays in Belmarsh, etc. He says the Muslim population in the UK prisons is overwhelming. There are gangs of them that control prisons. I think that has a lot to do with it, a hell of a lot to do with it, particularly as he had Al-Qaeda manuals and God knows what else he had in his room at that time. Now, anyway, guys, before I go, I do want to touch on something before I do leave you, and that is the whole police report, on the Southport riots, as they call them. And Keir Starmer bemoaning them as far-right thugs, etc. Now, the police have found out that it was not far-right, nothing to do with far-right thuggery. Because believe you me, right, I have actively searched for these far-right groups, and let me tell you, they don't exist. Because if they did, I'd be a part of them, and I'm not ashamed to say it. But there isn't. There's nothing here. It's a mythical creature. It's like a unicorn of the left wing. They think far-right ideologies and far-right groups are rampant throughout the UK. They never have been. We've had the National Front back in the 70s, stuff like that, the BNP in the 90s, but they soon disappeared into obscurity. We are not a country that delves into neo-Nazism, that kind of a thing. There are pockets here and there, a couple of handfuls of people here and there, of course they are, but there's no far-right movement. It doesn't exist. Keir Starmer, during that time, last year, during the Cyport riots, was an absolute embarrassment. Them press releases that he did about how he's going to stamp out far-right thuggery. No, what he actually meant was he was going to stamp out dissident voices. He was going to stamp out those voices that voice concerns about immigrants being let in willy-nilly into this country and attack, rape and murder our children and our women, and people were simply fed up of it. And what happened to them? They got thrown in prison. To shut them up. Put a metaphorical padlock over their mouths. And do you know what? He has to be held accountable for that. He stirred up so much racial hatred towards Muslims and the British public through stories of far-right extremism and all this other stuff, mosques being attacked. That prick who runs Hope Not Hate, Nick Lowles, he was another part of it. He sent a fucking death squad of angry Muslim teens out on the streets, and some poor fucker got his head kicked in, and I think it was his liver and his kidneys punctured. I mean, Christ on a bike, what a absolute farcical bullshit scenario this is. People are in prison now through simply being labelled far right by Hope Not Hate, Nick Lowles and the Prime Minister. It knocks me sick. It makes me sick to my absolute stomach. Then people should be pardoned, exonerated and released immediately. Bang out of order that you are put in prison for years upon years for a fucking tweet, a Facebook post or an Instagram post. Bastards, the lot of them. Anyway guys, that's my lot. I can feel my blood pressure rising. I'm going to leave you to it. Do enjoy your weekends, guys. I've got sneaky suspicion it's going to be a nice, warm weekend. Back to normal next week. Grey skies, cold weather. So yeah, do make the most of it. Maybe get the barbecue out, rustle up some burgers and some sausages for the missus and the kids, whatever you're going to do. Enjoy the sunshine, guys. And I'll see you in a bit. Cheers.